everybody. Welcome to the Comics and Cinema Club. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Drew.
And I know, since we are talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, you would expect us to have a Deadpool variant here like every other internet reviewer. Well, sorry, but we don't have the budget for that. So,
We were supposed to have Nice Pool, but something happened. He died a very heroic death. So
is that what happened to him? I was just told he was unavailable by his marketing department.
don't worry about it. He's just, he's fine. He's busy with the proposal.
God, I love The Proposal. We should do an episode on that. No,
I've never seen that movie in my life. I'm not even kidding.
He's literally just Van Wilder here. Like it's
really
not even a joke. That's just Van Wilder.
We're already getting into the movie. We haven't even technically started. But
here we go.
Welcome everybody. I mean, in case you haven't guessed, we're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. We're just gonna get into it because this movie was a blast from start to finish. It definitely has some flaws that we're gonna get into and some things that could have been better. But there's just so much with this movie. It's only been out for like 5 days at this point, give or take. And it's already like breaking box office records. It's already making people happy for a number of different reasons. We're gonna put a little disclaimer at the start of this, just spoilers. Like that should be 100% clear. We already spoiled at the start of this. We're just gonna go right into spoiler territory because I don't think you can't talk about this movie without spoiling things. It's just how it is, unfortunately. But like, don't be a jerk and don't leak anything because I've seen so many people just be like, "Oh, hey guys, it was so cool when X character showed up and Y character showed up," and it's like, have a little common courtesy, give people some warning. But I mean, I definitely enjoyed this movie. I think Matt definitely enjoyed this movie. And
yes, just to go into a little history here. We should probably state first what we thought about the first two Deadpool films. The first one, it was really groundbreaking. It wasn't the first started superhero film ever, but it was the first time Deadpool was this accurate and portrayed very well, and portrayed very much like as you would expect him to be in the comics, as opposed to sewing his mouth shut, which we don't talk about here. I'm honest to God surprised. I'm honest to God surprised he's not in this movie at all. Like there isn't a variant of that one anywhere. But the first film, definitely very groundbreaking for R-rated superhero films. Definitely superhero comedies. It's very much fun. I can't help but feel on rewatch that the jokes have been done to death by the fandom at this point. So I don't know if it'll have how much rewatch value it has, but going back to it years later, it is still very well made. Deadpool 2, more of the first film, and definitely a whole lot of fun. It's definitely a very kind of a uniquely structured superhero film or anti-hero film, whatever category Deadpool falls in. Some people have complained that some of the themes don't match, like some of the themes match with the first one. Like Deadpool is really happy to be a part of a team, or once like a family. When he insists in the first one, he's very much a solo act. But it worked. It felt like a natural character progression, and not to mention it has my favorite movie version of the Juggernaut, so that's good. So overall, though, I really like the first two films, and now we're on to the third one, which is continuing a lot of Deadpool traditions, but also expanding things and going in directions that I feel are natural story progressions for this character, and overall just so much fun.
Yeah, I mean, you can't talk about Deadpool without talking about Origins, because that is really where it all started. And like Ryan Reynolds, first of all, there's such a history with Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool that like he was perfect for the role. He came into Origins, and it just did not work out because they were going a completely different direction. And a lot of people probably know this, but he was so mad that they were sewing the mouth shut and doing such a disservice to the character. He refused to act with his mouth shut. Like he refused to do that to the point where they literally had to get a stunt double in to take his place for the last half of the movie. And it was just like, it speaks to how much he loves the character. And then it speaks to Deadpool because when Fox was so nervous about Deadpool and releasing it and everything that somebody, I mean, we all know who leaked it. Somebody leaked the test footage, and when the test footage came out, like it just blew everyone away. And then the movie came out, and it was just like such a different kind of superhero movie because there were fourth wall breaks, there were humor, but there was heart. And I think that speaks to a lot of the Deadpool movies and Deadpool as a whole, because he can be this wisecracking anti-hero, but he has heart to him. And that speaks both in the movies and in the comics and in everything else. When he's just being wisecracking, it kind of just takes away from who he is. But when he has that heart, it works. And, first Deadpool definitely had heart, and it definitely worked. And then the second one continued with that heart. I definitely enjoyed the first one a little more than the second one. I think the second one got a little messy with some stuff, and it tried to do too much. But it still had a lot of fun moments. Cable was cool. Domino was cool to see. There was a lot of other cool stuff that they did. Some really funny jokes, some really funny moments. I also got to say, every single intro for each one of these movies has such a unique little twist on it. Like the first movie was basically, hey, we're gonna have just Deadpool's gonna be basically doing his own intro. So it's basically like directed by an overpaid tool, produced by asshats, starring God's perfect idiot, a gratuitous cameo. The second one is literally a ripoff of a James Bond opening with freaking Celine Dion singing it. And then we'll get into the third one in a second. But it speaks to how unique and how interesting Deadpool can be when done right, and they nailed it with two films. And then I don't think anyone really thought they were going to get a third one when Fox got bought out, but then they defied all odds and they made a third one, and that kind of speaks to Fox too. But we'll get into that in a minute as well. But yeah, going into the third Deadpool film, I had already seen some spoilers, but I was still very much so enjoyed it just as a movie because, like I said, it still had a heart, it still had humor, and it still had a lot of really fun moments.
Yeah, I was spoiled on a couple appearances too, but I had the attitude I'll believe them when I see them, and then I saw them, and then I blew my freaking mind, and it was just so satisfying. This is more along the lines of No Way Home in terms of big cameos because they're actually important for the story. They play a role. They're not just there to be there and instantly killed off. It's fun to have them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm sorry. People can say whatever they want. People can say whatever they want about the multiverse. The fact is, right now it's selling. Like, that's just how it is. And I think films like this can show how the multiverse can work well, and how, and films like Quantum Mania can show, and Multiverse of Madness sometimes can show how not to use it. But right now, we're not focusing on that. We'll talk about that some other time. But right now, how about we talk about Deadpool and Wolverine, and let's get into it and what makes this film so fun and what could be improved on. So maybe we should start with the bad first.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, I think the bad can speak for itself when the writer is Zeb Wells. No, he actually did decent this time. He did decent. He did a good job. No, the bad to me was just, it felt like the plot could have been fleshed out a little bit more, and there were definitely some stakes and some things that they could have done better. There were just some moments where it was like, oh, stereotypical MCU stakes, and I get that they were trying to be like, oh, we got to make fun of that, guys. We got to make fun of the MCU stakes and everything and the world-ending aspect, but it just felt like you could have done more with it. And some people pointed out, some people were like, the stakes didn't really feel like they were there. The story was kind of all over the place. Another thing I will say is that it's not very user-friendly, and I'm just saying that. It's kind of like you do need to go in knowing the other movies. You need to go in knowing everything else. If you don't, then you might be a little lost. I will also say that Emma Corrin, they were the villain. They definitely could have had more screen time. They were fantastic as Cassandra Nova. They were great, but they were very underutilized. And there was a scene towards the end of the movie where, to me, it just felt like they had very whiplash sort of turn. Because 1 second, oh, I'm gonna help these guys, and nope, I'm gonna do my own thing. Which speaks to her character, but it still just kind of felt like out of left field. And then the other thing too that I'm just thinking is, I wish that we'd see more with the Deadpool characters. I wish we see more with Blind Owl, Dupender, Colossus, Negasonic, all those different characters. I just feel like that they could have done some more things with them, because I think that the movie did have a weakness of telling rather than showing some of the stakes. And I feel like if you had shown us some things, shown us more with Wade and Vanessa, and shown us maybe Wade's universe slowly unraveling and everything, it could have added to the stakes and everything. I also don't really get why the TVA guy was such a big part of it. it felt like they needed to decide between Cassandra or Paradox, and it just felt like they were really trying hard to have their cake and eat it too with both of them. And I know this sounds like a lot of negatives. I genuinely did enjoy this movie. I just genuinely think that there could have been some things improved upon. But for what it was and for what they did, it worked really well. And I mean, genuinely, the other thing to talk about too, not so much the negatives, but some other people negatives, because there are some people who were just walking out of this movie and being like, oh, it's being blasphemous, it's being disrespectful, this isn't the Deadpool I know. And it's like, because he was saying Marvel Jesus, and then they were parodying like a classic comic book panel of Wolverine on a giant X. And people were just like, oh, that's so blasphemous. And I was just like, have you guys never read a Deadpool comic? Like,
Yeah,
have
this
you
is
never?
Deadpool.
Yeah, that is Deadpool. He's always been like that in the movies and the comics and everything. So definitely, again, there's definitely flaws with this film, but I definitely enjoyed a lot of aspects of it too.
Yeah, I think a lot of the stakes come from the pacing being kind of strange, but I think overall, I got the personal that Wade was trying uh, to maintain here. Wade very much made his universe dying about his world dying, his people. You know, it's the people around him that he cares so much about. And I did feel that. I do agree. Probably should have seen a lot more of them. And same with Cassandra, because Cassandra is a fun villain. She's very much. She has the kind of energy of Zemo mixed with. She has the energy of Zemo mixed with Willy Wonka, which is what they actually said they were implying. They were actually trying to go for, which I do appreciate. That's clever, honestly, to recognize, hey, Willy Wonka's messed up. That said, I really wish they used Cassandra more, just because I really like her comics. She's a really fun type of villain there. Uh, Something else that I'll say too, for all the merchandise they have of the other tools, they're only in like one team. Again, like you said, if you're going to give them that much merch, how about you actually use them? Let's like delve into what we can do with them. And granted, they do have a fun little fight scene, which I do very much appreciate. Uh, but again, probably should have done more with them. And I think that's about all the negatives that we can think of, because this film again is generally really good.
Yeah.
So
The only
let's go
other
into what's good.
Yeah, the only other thing I would really say would be the CGI. There were some moments where the CGI was a little lacking, a little wonky, mainly when like they jump out of the bus at that one point. It just looked really weird. And maybe that was the point. But it's still like, yeah, I mean, those are the really big negatives. The other thing too is that I think some people said they could have definitely used more MCU characters. But I think that the
Okay.
point of the movie was that this isn't an MCU film. Like it's set in the multiverse. It's contingent with the MCU. But Matt mentioned earlier, like if we're comparing this to like, you have Quantum Mania, and then you have Multiverse of Madness. And Multiverse of Madness basically was saying, hey guys, you keep fan casting John Krasinski as Reed Richards, huh? Don't you guys want to see that, right? Wouldn't you like to see Captain Carter? That's really cool, right? Oh yeah, we got Charles Xavier back. Yeah, you guys really like the Charles Xavier. That's so cool, isn't it? And then oh yeah, we got Black Bolt from the Inhuman show that we don't talk about because it was not good. But to me, that was they introduced all these characters and then they were just gone. They didn't really serve a purpose. They didn't really achieve anything besides cheap cameos. I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine was a real multiverse of madness because A, you got the Jackman back. Hugh Jackman came back and he was great. He was a fantastic. He killed it again as Wolverine. Also, just the opening established that hey guys, we're not gonna shit on Logan because Logan's a great movie, but we're also gonna shit on Logan because it's Deadpool. Because the opening just like is playing everywhere with Bye 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 by NSYNC and just Deadpool using Wolverine's body as a literal arsenal of weapons, and then like running around beating people up. The humor is pretty good too. There's a lot of great jokes. The chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's fantastic. And then just the emotion that's there too. There was a lot of emotion in this. There was legit like emotion towards the end, even though I knew that they were gonna live. There was a lot of great moments throughout too. There was a lot of great comedy, a lot of fun moments. Dogpool is now one of my favorite characters. I love that dog. For those who don't know, the dog's name is Peggy. She was voted as being London's most ugliest dog, and they decided, hey, we're gonna have her be in this movie because she's adorable and she's sweet. I love that dog. But then the other thing that is by far the best part about this movie that everyone can say nostalgia, but this movie is secretly a tribute to the Fox universe, to Fox in general. Because for all their flaws, for all their mistakes, for everything they screwed up, 20th Century Fox paved the way for the MCU. That's at the end of the day, like, look, if it wasn't for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, we wouldn't have gotten the movies that we have. We wouldn't have gotten No Way Home. We wouldn't have gotten Tom Holland. We've gotten Andrew Garfield. We've gotten any of that. If it wasn't for the Fox universe, like, I'm being honest, we wouldn't have gotten Deadpool. Everyone hails Deadpool as being the first great R-rated superhero movie. Blade did that before anyone else. Everyone hails the Avengers as having good chemistry in a family-style film. Fantastic Four was doing that to the best of their ability with their first few films. Kind of. I know that's, cheesy, but... And then you have the X-Men movies that were the first real team films that really, like, brought everyone together. And it's cool to see them bring back all these actors and all these, like, references and all these different things that are like, hey, guys, the Fox universe was great for what it was. It gave us Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. It paved the way for Deadpool. It did all these great things despite all its mistakes. And it was really cool to see them be like, we get to see Wesley Snipes bury the hatchet with Ryan Reynolds after Blade Trinity. We get to see, Jennifer Garner have some redemption as Elektra, and after her movie was good dog shit. And I mean that, in the best way, because I don't know if there's anyone who really likes Elektra, the movie. But, and then, of course, you had Channing Tatum. Channing Tatum was Gambit, and for those who don't know the story of Gambit, Channing Tatum was supposed to play him in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but he had scheduling conflicts, so he couldn't do it. And then for years, he fought for Gambit to have his own solo film, but it just stayed in development hell. It never happened. It never fully came about. So it was really cool that they were like, hey, here's your chance. You get to be Gambit, even if it's for a short period of time. You get this chance. And then also, Chris Evans is the Human Torch. I think a lot of people were confused by that, but it's such a great bit. Just him saying "flame on" and all that stuff. The other thing I liked about this movie too, though, and Matt, you can chime in. I'm not trying to steal the fun, but the fight scenes were awesome in this. I liked the fight scenes. Yes. Again, the CGI was a little rough in some patches, but the fight scenes felt kinetic. They felt great. The soundtrack worked really well with it. I'm not just talking about like a prayer. Like, they had Hell's Bells playing at one point while it's Deadpool Wolverine fighting, and just mixed really well with it. I kind of liked it when they would just stop the music and they would just go at it, and then the music would kick back in. That to me was really good. And again, I can't speak to the humor in this movie. The humor was great. There were so many great jokes and so many great bits, and everything with it just worked really well. And I mean, there were 206 bones in the human body during that movie, but when Hugh Jackman's shirt unintentionally got ripped off, there were 207 bones in every single human body. So, yeah, that's how I feel about Deadpool, though. It's a good movie.
Yeah, definitely, the fighting was definitely incredible. Recent fight scene, I feel, had so much so many connected moments, had so much energy. It felt easy to comprehend. The worst Marvel films, the fight scenes can be hard to know, or even worse, they're boring. But here, everything felt so smooth and even, and everything just sort of, it was easy to make out what was going on, even with when the camera was shaking, or it had moments like that. It was just so fun, All these fight scenes were so much fun, and like he said, the humor is very subjective. It'll be different for different people, but for us, it was definitely very funny. I hadn't laughed this hard at at a movie in a long while. Like uh Deadpool's bit with Chris Evans before and Cassandra with him quoting Human Torch without us knowing about it. Uh and this Johnny getting what was coming to him, that's hilarious. But the end credits in turn made it even funnier because you found out Deadpool isn't lying. So fucking love that. Not to mention the performances in this, again, like I said, were very good. Chris and Hugh have great chemistry together, but this is some Hugh Jackman's best as Wolverine because you feel so much frustration and so much impatience with dealing with this grown man child that it really shines through. And you also feel a lot of human connections with everything, especially when Laura came back. It says yes, X-23 is in this movie. And yeah, like Drew said, this is a tribute to Fox films and also New Line Cinema. Blade is a New Line Cinema.
Right.
There.
I was wondering about that because I couldn't remember him being Fox. I was like, wait. So that's my bad, but keep on.
But yeah, and nonetheless, it's a big tribute to that. And I very much appreciate it because for better or for worse, the Fox films and Blade, they set the stage, like he said. But for many of us, they were the first time seeing several of our favorite comic characters on the big screen in live action for the first time, you know? Like it was the first time we saw Wolverine live action and Storm and the Fantastic Four and so many other characters. So we can shit on on so many of those movies. We can shit on Origins. We can shit on Fantastic and the original Fantastic Four duology. But ultimately, we still grew up with them, our generation especially. And seeing that little tribute at the end with the behind the scenes set to Time of Your Life by Green Day, it's just perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I, one, am thrilled to see the Fox universe get a proper send off instead of just petering away with New Mutants. Because I don't think anybody even saw that. So, yeah, definitely a great film. It's only so much we can really say about it, actually, without just repeating ourselves. But overall, this is a very fun film. Something else, too. I like Landscape of the Void because it's very much kind of a Battle World-esque environment because it's got a whole bunch of different geographies and climates and different monuments and all that. So I actually think that's a really cool version of the Void because before all we saw was just like little Easter eggs over a big field in Loki. So good continuity there and good expansion upon things. I am honestly to God surprised we didn't see a Loki in Cassandra's group. Honestly,
It might have been there. It just might have not been the Loki we thought they were gonna be.
if we could get Sticky Fingers as Blade in Cassandra's group, we could afford like a visible Loki. I'm just saying. But nonetheless, we also saw so many of the original X-Men villains in that crowd. Those are the fun cameos that are just fun to see. We get Deathstrike. We get the original Juggernaut. We get Azazel and Psylocke and so many of the X-Men movie villains that just got pruned and sent here. And it's nice to see them, you know, one last time, you know.
And I think that like that's sorry. That's the biggest difference between like this movie and something like Multiverse of Madness or The Flash or something like that. Because Multiverse of Madness and The Flash were basically just, oh hey, you guys wanted these guys, here they are. I just threw them at you. And they didn't really do anything with them. They were just like, oh hey, we got the Ghost of Christopher Reeve, we got Nicolas Cage, oh we got I don't know, we got Adam West. Who else can we toss into this garbage heap? This was actually like the first time Tyler Mane had a line as Sabretooth.
It was
an X-Men movie. This was the first time we'd seen Toad since the original movie, basically. I mean, he was briefly in Future Past, but this was the first time that we'd seen like Azazel since First Class or any of those guys. So it was like cool to see them return and make that comeback. And yeah, that ending mid-credits scene where they were doing like this slow scroll with like, giving you the overview of the Fox universe and like everything it had to offer. That was sweet. that like showed you that this movie wasn't really caring about, oh, we're not trying to make it so much about like we have to connect to the MCU, but more of, hey, Fox was a universe that made some mistakes, but they gave us our childhood basically. So let's honor that one last time.
Even Pyro had a decent role as a little secondary, or maybe like a tertiary antagonist, because Paradox is a secondary one. And not to mention, even a bit of interesting bit of multiverse lore with the introduction of anchorings. Now, this is rumored to be something that was in film, but I was a bit worried about it because the logic of it doesn't really make sense. Like, how would a universe extend for all the billions of years that Earth has been around, all for one person to sort of just be there? But and once they die, the universe just sort of fades away. But they make it clear that this is a sort of process that takes thousands of years once an anchor being is gone. And I'm curious to see who they get for like the sacred timeline, because who knows? There could be more than one. A lot of people are saying it's Spider-Man. Some people are saying it's Thor. Some people could say it's Wanda or Tony even when he was dead. But I say maybe all of them are, and maybe none of them. Who knows? But that's going to be interesting going forward, because that might be how they set up for Secret Wars when we get to that.
Well, it can't be Tony now because
yeah, we'll get that.
Because Robert Downey Jr. is going to be Doctor Doom, and I don't know how I feel about that, but that's beyond the point.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that some other time, because right now we want to focus on Deep B&W, which is making us very happy. So I'll say solid thumbs up for me.
Yeah, I give it a solid thumbs up too. Again, it's a fun movie. It definitely has some flaws, but if you can just sit back, like, look, this is something I just want to talk about real quick in general, because I feel like this summer, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of the movies are 70s and 80s and like low. They're not super high, like audience score, critical score, and it's like a lot of the movies that have come out have not been well received or like, really done that well. But the thing is that a lot of the movies that have come out are movies that you can just flick your brain off and enjoy yourself. I saw The Fall Guy at the start of the summer, and I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. Yeah, it wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, but it was still fun. It was a fun movie with Ryan Gosling. It was a tribute to stuntmen. It was really fun. And then the same can be said for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, that was actually a good movie because of What a Wonderful Day. But I enjoyed that movie. But it's just like, there are movies, and like, where I work right now, I work in a movie theater, but I keep seeing people come in to see Bad Boys. Bad Boys is like a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, and like apparently isn't that great, but people have fun with it. And it just like speaks in general to like, look, this movie is flawed. It's not great. It's a Marvel movie, so maybe you could say it's a bit of a cash grab, but it's fun. There's fun aspects to it. It's enjoyable. It's a good time. And if we can just like enjoy a movie, and I'm a bit of a hypocrite because sometimes it can be overly critical, then I think that we'll be fine. It's just like we got to stop being so critical, and I got to stop being critical myself. I saw a movie, Bullet Train, a while back, and I did not like that movie. But then I rewatched it, and I enjoyed it more because I was able to just enjoy it and not overthink it. I still hate the last act. That last act was not great in my opinion, but the rest of the movie is pretty solid. So I think that just speaks to this movie and to a lot of movies this summer. Like, I would love more high quality films, and I want to see Longlegs because I've heard good things about that. But it's just like I feel like there are movies we can just turn our brain off to that are dumb but fun, and don't go into the Fast and Furious sort of dumb or Transformers dumb era. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, the summer wasn't great for films. It was a huge starting off with Planet of the Apes and Furiosa bombing like this. It's honestly nice to see something succeed, even if it is Marvel film. And I'm a huge Marvel nerd. I still tend to give the MCU a fair shot, like I know a lot of other critics don't. But I feel it is nice to see this succeed, especially since it is such a huge love letter for the history of comic book films. And not to mention, well, we are allowed to be critical. We're film critics. It's what we do. But I really wish everyone would be more willing to give things chances instead of just disregarding them or waving them off out of hand. And I know I can be a bit hypocritical because I do the same thing for certain comic book runs. Whenever I think about them, I just sort of see them and I'm just like, no, thank you. But other times, I try to give things a fair chance. So I definitely think critical thinking is very important, and I'm grateful to see people be kind of discerning and let Hollywood know with certain things they're not going to tolerate it, like usage of AI or anything. But it is nice to see this succeed because it genuinely feels like labor of love, which is something that some Marvel projects have it in. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, what you were saying, Matt, with like Furiosa and everything, like Furiosa was hyped up, and then it and Garfield bomb. Kingdom of Apes actually, it
Oh,
did make back on
right.
its money.
Art,
Yeah, yeah.
stomach.
I mean, Garfield was crap too. I saw it with a buddy, and we were both like, "That was terrible." And I was like, "Why did we go see this?" I will say, Inside Out 2 wasn't bad. I actually did
Inside
like
Out
that.
2 was pretty good. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, just speaking to this summer of movies, like definitely there are people who are like overly critical of something, and we can both be like that. And sometimes it's okay to be overly critical of something, but also you just gotta enjoy things sometimes, and that's something I'm trying to do more. I'm definitely trying to just enjoy stuff more, but also be a little more critical. And I feel like there are just some times where I feel like people nitpick, and it's like you go too far with it, and sometimes it's you go too far. So, um, there's something else I was trying to say. Uh, yeah, I definitely think that this has not been. I think that this is a summer that we're still recovering from the strikes and COVID and a lot of different things, and the effect is finally starting to be felt, I think. And I mean, a lot of movies were delayed, a lot of movies were pushed back, and I think a lot of the hype kind of died out, and a lot of people lost interest. But theaters are still going. Go see movies. I mean, we got Trap coming out soon, and it might be out by the time this episode comes out. And we got Alien Romulus coming out soon. There's a lot of good movies, and of course, Transformers One, which is actually getting decent reviews already.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's just my 2 cents. Again,
Yeah. So overall, though, I'm giving Deadpool Wolverine solid 8 out of 10.
yeah,
That's on 8 out of 10. I think that feels fair.
I give it more like a 7.5. That's just me, but again, it's still a fun movie. This this unintentionally became more of a talk about movies this summer than it did about Deadpool. But Deadpool and Wolverine, like, look, if you like Deadpool, if you like Ryan Reynolds, if you like Hugh Jackman, if you like Hugh Jackman getting shirtless, go see this movie because this movie's great. It's funny, it's stupid, it's fun. It has some great moments. It has some great cameos. It has some great teases. I mean, we got canonically short Wolverine in this movie. And the
And he looks ridiculous.
Calverine. He
And
looks
it's like,
ridiculous, but it's great. We needed canonically short Wolverine.
this is why they went with Hugh Jackman's normal height because he looks ridiculous at
Oh,
that.
he looks so silly, but it's so great because Wolverine is canonically short. He's a Wolverine.
He is, but I am grateful that they kept him normal height throughout the rest of the film. I couldn't take them
I
that
would have.
serious.
Release the short Wolverine cut. Release the short
I,
cut. Um,
like, fault. And
um,
yes, we are going to treat we're going to treat the Calvarine with more respect in these two, or like 20 seconds that he was here,
yeah.
way more than those shitheads down the street.
Yeah, he was great in that. I like that he came in and was like, "Yeah, I'll be Wolverine for like 2 seconds." It was fun. You could tell he had like 3 lines. You were just
Yeah,
leaving. You could tell he had fun with it.
yeah.
And same can be said for like the whole cameo and the old man Logan, like all the different variants and stuff. Plus Blake Lively being Lady Deadpool. Matthew McConaughey was freaking Cowboy Deadpool. Like there's
He was.
some crazy ass cameos in this movie.
I think one of my personal favorites was seeing Age of Apocalypse Wolverine with the
Yeah.
stumpy hand and everything. That may seem random, but I don't know. That's a cool design. I'm glad I got to see that in live action at least once. You know.
Yeah, some people actually did not. I think I saw someone be like, I didn't like that." And it's like, you didn't like that, and it's like, I think the guy had a grudge with Age of Apocalypse or whatever. Um,
What?
but what?
What? That's like a weird thing to say. It's like, come
I
on,
don't know.
it's like a little Easter egg. It's like, what not to like?
I don't know. Again, people can be nitpicky sometimes. That's the whole point of this. Yeah, but again, if you like Deadpool, if you've enjoyed the past few films, if you're not going to go into this movie and be astounded or clutch your pearls when you hear him say he's Marvel Jesus,
Somebody out coming down with the case of the vapors.
Go see this movie because it's just fun. It's gonna. I mean, if you don't see it, it's still gonna make money. It's breaking box office records, and it will probably keep breaking box office records. And who knows? Maybe we'll get a Deadpool and Spider-Man in the future. I doubt it,
Maybe.
but be nice.
I kind of doubt it. I think Ryan said he's done making these. I think this might be the last Deadpool solo film, but I'll be eager to see him in Secret Wars and find out once and for all what was Thor crying.
I feel like so. My whole thing is I feel like they just were like, hey, we got to get Deadpool to stay, so let's just throw something at him, and they were just like throwing out like little tiny things to be like, oh, he stays here, or I don't know. That was another thing, but I mean, again, fun movie. Ryan Reynolds gave it his all. Hugh Jackman gave it his all. Everyone gave it their all. It was fun. So I think that's all we can really say. But until next time, thanks you all for listening to us. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, Matt.
No, thanks for joining us, everybody.
All right, guys. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you next time.